Negative 26 seconds. Well, hopefully Twitch is gonna be alright. Actually, we've been on for negative 12 seconds. It's counting up still, I guess, right? Should I wait until it goes to 0? We're almost there. -1, 0. Now we're counting upwards. That's weird. Okay, anyway, here we go. Oh, let me turn off the chat on the YouTube. One of these days we'll try YouTube again. See if YouTube has gotten any better at filtering out obvious and problematic spam. If they have, then eventually maybe we can start leaving the chat on. Today is not the day that we're going to try that, though. Check this. We're going to get... Okay. Up this one. All right. Here we go. I am jumping right in. I will assume most of the people who find this and are watching it probably know who I am already. Just in case we do have anybody brand new, my name is Tim. I go by Funday Guy. I get up in Discord. We're working on CircuitPython stuff on this stream. I stream a couple of times a week, usually on Friday afternoon/evening. In my time zone in the US, it's at 5 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. And then I also tend to stream on Saturday morning, my time, 10 a.m. Central time, or 11 a.m. Eastern time, Saturday morning. This one we're just hopping on, though. Mondays, I work on CircuitPython, so we're streaming today while I do some PR reviews, and then perhaps get into the core a bit later on. So that's the super fast version. If anybody who is watching this is interested to know more that you don't know already, feel free to pop a message in the Twitch chat, or I'll try to keep an eye on the live broadcast chat on the Adafruit Discord as well. First thing I'm looking at right now, though, is display text PR. So I have a couple of PRs in mind to do some reviews on, and then depending on how long that takes, some stuff I want to jump in and look at in the core. So this is where we're starting. Display text. This one is a fix by Jose David to improve the way the padding works. Have not read all the way through this just yet, so that's what we're going to start with, is figuring out what is the actual problem, which is that padding is wrong when you go downwards or upwards. The background is displayed incorrectly. So we're going to take this. This is reproducer code, I believe. Set up the display. Yeah, we can just do board for ours. That'll be all right. Actually, I do like the way they have done this. Left the display comment up here. Basically, it makes it so you can relatively easily just swap in whatever device you're using, right? Like, lots of devices are going to be able to use board.display if they have it built in. But then in situations where you don't have a built-in display, you can just set up your display, and in your setup code, you'll have essentially this line anyway, where you're creating one. We will use the built-in one, which means we will have to import board first. Index. Gotta make a new stubs, I think. Okay. Okay, yeah. So top padding here is, it looks like it's affecting the bottom. Well, I'm assuming where it says top, that has added top padding. We'll double check the code in a minute, but that's my assumption. Left padding, I'm assuming that added left padding, but it actually got put on the right. Right padding did get put on the right. We'll have to see what gray the difference in gray is, and then bottom, it got on the left, it looks like. And then do mine match? I think there was another fix. Okay, nice. That's where the padding is, thanks. Neradoc. Hey. What's up, buddy? Oops, wrong tab. Here we go. So there was another fix in here. Not actually sure which version. Whoa. Not actually sure which version my is on my device. I'm gonna have to find the cat distraction tool real quick. 1 second. Okay. I appreciate that your gizmo has the peel. I am a peel lever runner as well. When left to my own devices, some of the ones I have peeled, has to peel in order to take photos without it. I do have this part slightly different, but I think that is something to do with the other fix that was in the mix here. This one is 90 degrees, but this one is what looks like mine, and so I think this means I don't... What we'll do is... So I actually do have text here. Oh, hey. We rename it from... But that's gonna, like, refactor it. Well, but we can uncheck this. Let's do this. So this device, HiPortal Titano happens to be what I'm using, but did it reset? Doesn't seem like it resetted. Interesting. It has display text frozen in, so if you want to use a test version, you have to paste it in the root. Okay. Mine uses bitmap with the bitmap label fix. I tested the label PR and it looks good to me on my phone playing with cat. Nice. It's not a real use. Stored in a box. I leave the protection. Ah, gotcha. Bottom. So we should be using now the frozen in one, which is whatever was frozen at the time that this version of the OS was installed. I do want to use the modified one, or really what I want to use is the currently released one, I believe, because I did merge and release the other PR a little while ago. I don't currently have it here. We should be able to go like this and then copy it. This one's a bit convoluted. Ordinarily, like, this will put it into the lib directory, which is where you need it. But in the case of the frozen in libraries, we actually need it in the root so that it will, I don't know, take precedent, I guess, override. I'll circup install it, but then I'm actually just going to paste it back out into the root. Ah, yeah, there we go. Okay. Okay. I do have the same thing here. And so this is basically just that our padding is going to more or less undefined sides. So then now what we really want to do is get the modified one from the PR. '87. I will delete it from lib. This device has lots of storage, but it's not worth... It doesn't do anything inside of lib, so I might as well delete it and save what space I can. We're going to end up deleting the one in the root also, because we're going to paste in the new one. Let's do that now. We have checked out this, so we can grab the library from here now. Put it to the root. And we can skip lib. Did not test TTB direction. Okay, we can try that one out. Oops. Browser. Where are we? Number 3-4. Fourth one over. Should have rearranged those earlier, so I'd be further to the left. That's all right. Probably, I think we're just going to put the camera back. I stole the camera out of this. There we go. So now top gets it on the top. Left gets it... Oh, okay. So it follows the... It's relative to the text in the case of this, which is downwards, probably, right? Direction. Oh, this one has more stuff, actually. Let's use this one. This one has both... Yeah, those ones are downwards. All that stuff there. No module. Map LL. Might just be typoed, or might have even just copy pasted weird. Typoed. I do need to make sure that I paste. Yeah. Bitmap, it would be label. Though it is, I think, just using label so far? Or, oh no, okay. Somewhere else is using that too. Map LL? They have a different import, or? It's while true, maybe? Yeah. Okay, it is tougher to see which one is which. Maybe we can... What is that? House? I don't know what this word is. Name? Maybe this is like name or something? House. Go to? Oh, to use. Okay, it's not, it's two words, to use. Which type of label to use, basically, if it's label or bitmap label. Okay. Okay, so we should be able to maybe change some of the text here to do some of this. We could go like... So for all labels, let's start with L. This direction is DWR, and the padding is from border? Padding work. I thought it was... Or, oh, okay, hold on, but border is being passed into add text. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Border is then, okay, border is a tuple 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, yeah. This is what I was more familiar with. It's just wrapped here for kind of like turning some more of the parameters into one. Okay, so those are changing. So this is left because it goes, nope, actually it's top, bottom, left, right. So this is top. So I'm going to go left, downward. We'll have enough room for all of this. We might need to like move these apart a bit more, but we'll see how we end up. Top, bottom, left, right. To the left. Start with that and see how over-labeled we are. Over on top of each other we are. Quite a lot. I'm going to kind of go through some chunks of these at a time just so I can actually see which one is what. Whoops. Ah, yeah, there's top to bottom test in here as well, actually. I do just the one set for now. Then I will also try to separate them a bit. Maybe we can just, let's use some more width. Maybe let's just go much bigger on the X's here, like. That did pretty good. There's still a case here where they overlap, but that's kind of fine. So labeled downward top is now, and it follows the orientation. So top ends up being on the right because we are 90 degrees turned to the right. So we're essentially saying padding will always go relative to, you know, whichever way the text is. Probably a better way to word that, but it's kind of escaping me right now. That's probably the best I got. So top ends up there. Bottom is then on the left because of that 90-degree rotation. Same for, and we do have the same now bitmap label and label. This one here, we have the same bitmap label and label. They're both behaving the same. It's unrelated to this, but one thing I do notice is there's no, it's probably the character, I guess, right? The L just has an extra pixel or something. Yeah, unrelated to this, but it is kind of odd, I think, right? Like, all the characters, I think all the characters should have at least one pixel of padding, ideally. But that's not, like I said, not related. So bottom is working good. So then left does add that padding up there where I actually want it to be. And then right is actually too low. So let's pull these back up. These are going down, but we don't really need them to. Actually, these ones are kind of nice, maybe. So let's stop at like whatever the fourth one is. Make all of these this. We could still pull it back a little bit. I don't think we're missing much, but maybe a little bit on the bottom there. There we go. So that's right and right. Okay. Hey. Whoa. Hey, 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 hey. Don't bite my foot. I'll be back in a minute, actually. We're going to go grab the cat here. Come on, buddy. Okay. He's gone for a few days, so he had to suffer through dry food only for a few days. Give him a couple extra. Give him extra wet food for a couple of days later on in the day. What is this? Padding related to text seemed to be the intention of bitmap label code, but maybe I got that wrong. The label code being wrong made it hard to know what the intention was. Yeah, they probably just got accidentally implemented differently. Wanted to offer. No, I don't need that. This one again. Go. I think rotating its position is not affected by padding. I considered it better to follow the text. Think rotating a label shouldn't change its look by switching the padding around. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think I like this behavior. I can see how somebody might get confused about the fact that like they might expect this to be left padding instead of bottom padding. But I do think this is better. I think it's nice that the rotation is just the rotation. If you took a label with padding on the bottom and you displayed it normal orientation and then you duplicated it, made another copy of the label, but made it downwards like this, I think I agree with this, where they should look the same visually. It should look like you just turned it, right? And so this implementation, I think I do prefer. Because otherwise, in that same scenario, you'd have like padding bottom, you'd rotate it, and then the rotated one, it would look like this. Whereas the 90-degree one, it would have it below like this. Of course, it would be horizontal, but yeah. In my head, it definitely makes a lot more sense that when you change that rotation, the padding kind of follows it. Okay. Those all look good to me. So we will check the next set, and I'll kind of do the same sort of stuff here, like fill these in just so that it's a bit easier to see at a glance which one's what and all that. Should change this before I do too many of these. This is upper. A copy matter does also change them. Whoa. I did Control B instead of Control V. That does. Not find deck. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. Control B is like Control click. I never knew that. Interesting. Huh. Oops. It's dangerous though, because it's right next to V. Interesting. Okay, these are all upwards. These just change here, so this will be bottom. Just gonna do short ones actually, so they're all the same size. RIT? Then it's like RIT. I don't know. Fine. Locations. Oops. Somewhere there's like a column select. I don't know how to use it though. It would be pretty convenient right about now, so if ever there was a time to take a minute, figure it out. Enable column, Alt-Shift Insert. I'm never gonna regularly use this if it needs the insert key. Alt-Shift Insert. That's so then in my case that's also gonna mean my insert is on that's not even what's printed on the key, so that's the key that my insert is on. But it says insert on the bottom. I don't ever use those. Is that keypad? Okay. Okay. Alt-Shift Insert. Oh, I think this changed. Interesting. I don't know why you can't change it from inside of here. Kind of odd. So now I think I can do something like this. You do have the D, which is like, give it. Oh, that didn't work. Uh-oh. Oh, I see. Wait. Oh boy. Insert. I've spent way more time. Didn't work that time. It went to 4 spaces. I guess I was already in the mode and then I just took myself back out. Oh no, it was the next one over, not 4 spaces. E is still kind of in the way, isn't it? Oh well. Oh, okay. Okay, I think we're done with this experiment. Yeah. There's a column select mode, which could make this easier, but in my case it doesn't actually, because I have to have my keyboard in keypad mode, and then a bunch of the keys are different, and I never use it, and I don't know what's where. And I can't copy things, and I can't paste things, and everything is all wonky. So we're going to go back to not this mode. Alt-Shift-Insert. It's now done a third different thing. Alt-Shift. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have done this. Don't add something else held down? Something control is held down because that did duplicate. There we go. Okay, control was held down. So keypad, Alt-Shift-Insert, get us out of that. Back out of keypad, quit messing with it. There we go. All right, well that was fun. Don't even really want to do a find replace either, actually. We'll start at 5. We'll just kind of do the same thing. I would have to move insert off of the labeled key that it's on to something else that doesn't require keypad mode in order to have any remote chance of using that functionality. This keypad mode definitely throws me off. I never use it. This is like the perfect width for this. I'm glad I had this screen here. So now we have label upper with on the top, which is good. Bitmap matches, which is good. Bottom, looking good. Left is down there. Bitmap matches. Right is up there. Matches there. This is TTB. Ones are all label. It might be one that bitmap label can't. Sure. Oh, positions. Okay, we'll have to scoot these up some. And then we might be still too long on some of them, actually, yeah. Spaces feel really big. I guess that's because the characters aren't square, right? They're rectangular. Ordinarily, they are taller than they are wide, and when we use this, we're making it so the spaces are actually the height instead of the width. label BTB top. Oh, yeah, we actually will need to be, I guess, a little bit further south, otherwise we can't actually see all of the padding. I don't think it matters. We don't necessarily need to be counting pixels here, but that pushed us too far, in fact. Maybe I should have done only the first one. You just activate it in the edit menu. Edit menu, that's what I need to... Column selection mode. Okay, yeah, I didn't know where that was at. Edit column selection mode. I could probably change it, essentially, too. I forget exactly how you change hotkeys, but I'm almost positive there is a way to do that. What I want it to be is, does like Alt-C do anything? I could probably do Alt-C. Code. Oh, right. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Alt-Shift is kind of hard on my keyboard. It opens up recent changes, which I probably will never use. Is there an S? Could I use Alt-S? CS. Maybe Alt-Shift-C. What? Thought I was supposed to be typing it, like, into the label, not pressing the hotkey. I tried to just type the C. Yeah. C. Take me to column mode and back. Nice. Thank you. Did we make it through all of these? Not quite. Okay, so top is there, bottom is down there. Left would be there. I actually do need to scoot that one down. Or no. Left. It follows the text. It's on the left here. Then right would be over there. Yeah. Okay. Good to me. Oops. Save that already. Should have changed these, but I will. Yeah. Works better if you make a key eye. Copy. We could maybe do these as well. Kind of trickier, I guess. The colors might get in the way in some of these. Okay, we're still in column mode as well. However, these will actually be wrong because they're not upper, they are LTR instead. Whoops, which we could find replace, but I will just do this instead. And do we have any or no? Right number, because this one is back to doing bitmap labels as well. Yeah, I think maybe there might be one of these that bitmap label doesn't do. I'm guessing it's this one, since these ones were only label, not bitmap label. Check the code to be certain though. Okay. Oh, but it's it doesn't quite work actually with this because these are actually horizontal. So in our case, we want relatively static x's changed y's. May run out of room for actually. We could rotate the display. I think we'll be all right. I don't know how big it is. It's like 320 by 2 something maybe. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty certain it's bigger than 145 tall. So. Oh. No, they're actually off the bottom there, I think. Yeah, we don't have, we're actually quite a ways off the bottom. We don't have any of the rights. But we're scaled, right? This text is way bigger than default. Maybe. Scale 1. Defaults to scale 1. Scale. Scale 3 for splash. Okay. BR times 3. Okay. Thank you. So that's why 145 is too much. We could do columns, I guess. Maybe after bottom, we could go to another column. So then, starting here, we'll go like, maybe. Is that far enough and not too far? Yeah, it's probably too. And we actually want to bring these back as well. Use this again. Yeah. Some stuff when I did it that time. Okay, a little bit further left. Like 10 more. I think there's only one of them that it actually affects, truthfully, but this one I think was maybe off just a tear. Had, I should say. Left to right. Padding top is looking good. I guess technically maybe we're a couple pixels over there. I don't know, but we can definitely tell that it put the padding on the top. It looks good. Bottom looks good. Left. Then right. Cool. All of that looks good to me. Browser. Scale 2 if you have good eyesight. Yeah, I usually scale 2 is usually where I default with labels. If I'm using built-in font, I usually start around scale 2, and I do actually go to 3 sometimes. The actual default size is pretty darn small. Okay. I'm thinking this all is looking pretty good. Okay. I like that implementation as well, I think. It's just kind of basically creates this new padding to use and then uses those 90-degree rotation rules to decide which one it's going to be. How many branches? Yeah, that will happen sometimes. Theoretically, we could like factor it into a function or maybe use a dictionary. Look it up. I don't know. Some kind like, yeah, I don't know. Too many branches. Sometimes you just have a lot of branches, right? Like we have, 4 or 5 different things we want to do based on that input. I don't really see that as a problem. So looks like Pilot probably complained about it, but I'm inclined to say I think it's fine to just disable that check. There probably is some way to refactor it to where there is a not quite as big if statement, but I don't think it makes the code appreciably better or easier to understand or anything like that. Like, we probably could do it, but I think it will honestly just end up making it harder to understand, because this, like, you can follow super easily. If it's this, do this. Else if it's this, do this. Else if it's this, do this. I mean, if anything, I guess we have this repeated a little bit. Like, this one is doing downwards, upwards, but then this one is also doing downwards here. Doesn't really change much, but we could move it into there and then we wouldn't need it to be down here. Up to bottom. Also does have its own here. Oh, this is in a different file. Or I mean a different... Oh, no, it's not. Different function. Not actually, though. The one that's missing is upper, I guess. So uses else. Yeah, I mean, this branch here could be moved into here. The code inside of it, I should say. I think. Just like, as I'm looking at it here, it feels like it should be able to. I haven't actually tested it. Maybe I'm wrong. That would get rid of one branch here. This one could, I guess, be moved as well, but it doesn't really get rid of any branches because we still need to make a determination inside of here whether it is downwards or upwards. So we would still have to have another if it is downwards, then do this. And that messes up the else, actually. If we take this one away, then that makes it so that else has a different meaning. And we can't really, like, there is an else here, but that also has a different meaning due to the fact that this one has upwards. So honestly, moving this creates more problems than it solves, I think. I don't even know for sure if that's the one, because that's only 3 branches. I guess, is it counting like total branches inside the whole thing? I don't know exactly how it's counting. This one's 4, I guess. I don't know. I do think it's fine to remove. It's inside the function as well, so it's like smallest scope that it needs to be to still pass. And that function just does a lot of things, right? Makes a lot of determining a lot of decisions. PTB label is only PTB is only for label, and then UPD upside down is for bitmap label only. It could be both ported to each other though. I see. Oh, I gotcha. Splash is scaled, that way the grid will actually go too. Which is nice, because that gives us, like, that made it nice and easy to, like, really determine kind of how much padding we're getting on each side. Yeah, that would be good to port in one day. Oh no, this is, I was gonna say, is it already there, but no. What is this? Vince Vega. Vincent Vega from, that's, what is that? Is that Pulp Fiction? You cannot update the text outside the constructor. Oh. Interesting. Yeah, I guess probably this is because I actually created scrolling label. I made it when I did the Winamp project. I don't recall 100% why I made this decision, though. Looking back on it, I'm guessing that scrolling label probably extends label, which means that it already has this property. And we either can't or don't want to. I think it's can't, but maybe it's possible and I'm not aware of it. And even if it was possible, I think we would not want to overwrite that property, because scrolling label will need to be setting the text on the parent instance if that is actually the case that this extends label. Kind of going off on a tangent here, but I'm actually curious to look just quick. It does. Well, yeah, extends bitmap label. This person didn't actually say, I guess. Well, yeah. I guess what happens is it does probably work, but when you call this, it will change it to be the current text that it's meant to be scrolling. Yeah. This is correct, I think. I guess we should be 100% sure, but yeah. We should. One thing I will say is we should totally have doc strings. There are no doc strings except for the main one. Oh, this does actually. Oh no, okay. Yeah, I got confused by the setters actually. All the getters have them. Yeah. I mean, we could. I don't know if it's worth it. It could extend group instead of label. And it could hold a label instead of being a label, in which case it could have its own text property that would not interfere with the label one. But that is, I think, undesirable for other reasons. Like, we gain functionality by extending bitmap label, like, background color, padding, everything that label has, we're gaining access to be able to use without having to write any extra code. The cost being we have to have a different property. We cannot just reuse the text property, to the best of my knowledge. We can. I don't think we want to, because I think it makes it confusing. Maybe I could be persuaded not, but I think that's where I land right now. Anyway, that is a tangent, and I will go back to our main thread here. Does that work? So I don't know exactly how to do that. Let me put my music back on first. Well, YouTube, we're still here. Let me leave the review on this one in merge probably, and then I will check into that overriding properties. Because the part where I get confused, I guess, is then if I override the text property, then inside of here, when we use self.text, it will be calling our overridden one. So I guess you're saying call super. Maybe this would mean super text instead of self text potentially. I don't think I have ever done it that way before. I'm definitely interested in learning, because I will say that does come up from time to time where I do kind of wish I could override it. I still don't know in this case, is it better? I guess it is. I mean, one thing I'll say is definitely they should match. So the constructor should definitely match the property, I do think. Like, if this has to be full text, this should probably also be full text. Maybe that would be better. Maybe it would be better if we could do .text, right? Because then it would essentially have the same interface as label. Like, functionality would work the same. Would be nice. I will give that a try. We will bump middle number again because it's new behavior. It's not a breaking change. Like if you had code written, your code still works, just there's a chance it does something slightly different now. Whereas if your old code would not work anymore, then we would bump the first number. Okay. Okay. C has a property called X, has a getter, setter, deleter, which I've never seen before, but follow. C2 overrides C, and it says, interesting, C.X.getter. X. Is a little warty, because overriding multiple methods seems to require you to do something like this. So that overrides C, which then says CX getter X. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a little weird. Okay, so you have to do it differently, kind of. Like this one has the C and this one does not. Is hell of confusing? I think this is a bone apple tea with Hella. It's kind of interesting. Fly? Fly. Never even heard of a fly. But I guess what this still doesn't show us, though, is how do we use the parent one? So let's say inside of here we wanted to return, or, you know, in this case it's like modifying it. It's saying directly self._x, which is like just accessing the field, the variable directly. Which I guess maybe we could do that as well. But I feel like this would want to be, I would want this to be like self.x. And I would want it to be calling this one from the parent. Maybe that's where the super can come in, you said. State main, because we have, yeah, I've never really messed with overriding properties at all, truthfully, but that does strike me as odd that you would have to do c.x on one, but then only just x on the other. I also wonder too, we have label base in the mix, which means we have we're actually 3 layers deep here in scrolling label. Because scrolling label extends bitmap label. bitmap label extends label base, and this is actually where text is at, I believe. So we have we do actually have an extra layer in the mix, like I said, of inheritance. I wonder if that's going to throw a wrench in anything. They overrode it in this one by saying basically at parent dot property name dot getter. So for us, that would be, oh, and this is where it gets weird. I'm not sure, I guess, but I start with that, I suppose. Dot text dot getter. So like, in this case, I actually just want to return super text, basically. I want to call .text property on the parent class label. So is that where super comes in? Ooh. Makes me think there will be a... Oh, but they'd probably mean not different layers, but rather like multiple inheritance. Two things at the same layer. Yeah, okay. Gives you an object of the super class. So we would just say super.text. Super as a function .text. So this is like the only place that I am familiar with seeing super. It does actually kind of make sense though, right? We use it for init there, but yeah, we could be doing other stuff. That's what that should be then. So, and now here we get weird because now we want basically just text dot setter. Oops. Oops. Delete the one at the root. Paste the new one. I'm actually going to keep this modified one of these in case we need it again. And takes two positional arguments. 154. Two positional arguments. I mean, it's not talking about super, is it? 54 though. Should I be trying to call it like this? Right. String object is not callable? How's it going, DJ Devin? Thank you. Get the old hairs trimmed up before I left. Does that move it to 155? It does. The only function we're calling directly is super. Super is a property, which I guess technically is calling this. It should be. Oh, this took me to the this took me to somewhere. Or weird. Table base. I mean, technically that's what we're trying to call, I guess. Oh, already in the REPL. So, I guess I don't actually need to do. I kind of do, actually. But honestly, this should actually be returning full text. That's what we want it to basically do. Yeah. Does not help solve our problem down here, though. Additional arguments, but none were given. These are talking specifically about super. Hmm. Should it not be bitmap label? The interesting part, though, is this tells us that super is not the problem, but apparently this property setting is, but that's... Well, we shouldn't be doing this anyway, actually, right? We have the same problem as this one, which I failed to see until now. We don't even need to mess with super. We need to just set full text. That's going to make it a lot easier. Except we created infinite loop and then not a RAM. Because this is now yeah. This is about where I get lost in the weeds on the overriding of the properties. Something's making that get called over and over. So the reason why that's getting called over and over is because actually inside of update, it's gonna have self text here, which this I suppose is where we need the super. But then we get that one. So that right now is the crux. If I understand this page correctly, well, where was our C1? I guess that was a Stack Overflow. That was over here. But this doesn't really say anything about super. This says A has a property called prop and a setter called prop. Then B extends A, and it says A.prop.setter, the new prop, which then says A.prop.fset. This is the call to the original set method. Fset. So that's parent class dot property name dot fset, which hasn't been declared here, so I guess that's built in. In our case, parent name dot text dot fset has no fset. So that might be a thing that exists in CPython, but not CircuitPython. Anyway, I think I'm going to bail on this for now, but that's kind of the crux of it, is I don't know if it's possible. However, I would say I probably came around to if it is possible without, like one way that I know for sure it's possible is change this to not extend bitmap label and instead extend like group, for instance, and just create an instance of a bitmap label, put it in the group, and then that's what this widget is. The downside to that, though, is we lose all the inheritance, like color, background color, and all that stuff. So that's one way that I do know how to do it, but the downside, I think, is too much. I don't know of any other way to do it where we can override these, but then when we need to use the parent ones, we still have a way to do it. We could short circuit the properties altogether, and I guess just go to like underscore text, the private field, the actual string that's on the object. That's not. I mean, we really couldn't, because the text property probably is doing some other stuff, like making sure that it will update. Yeah, see, set text. We could call set text, I guess. Yeah, we need all of that other stuff to happen beyond just updating the variable, the actual string. That one actually works. Doesn't work anymore. Yeah, I don't know. Somehow there's logic error now where it's not scrolling properly. Not scrolling properly. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's possible. I don't know how to do it. Give it a try. It feels like we're close, right? It actually runs and doesn't crash. I don't really quite get the behavior. I can see it like flashing or whatever, so it's changing itself and updating and refreshing, but it's never... It's never, maybe this is our problem. I mean, That should make it so we're just... Yeah, that should make it so we're just... It's calling back in again. Yeah, see, after it got changed... Oh, I'm being silly. Yeah, otherwise that just calls it every frame. Okay, we did make it. I did a bunch of those changes on my device, and I copy it back to here. Overwrite. I'm gonna look at the diff. We're gonna take out the comments. I didn't test that. We probably should. Thank you. Uh-oh. That's not a good sign. Okay, well, hopefully PyCharm is just wrong about that. Yeah, okay. I don't know why. Doesn't seem to think that can be read, but can. And it runs, and it works. I am still curious too, though. Like, in this case, the reason why I was able to make it work is the fact that that super.textSetter property actually just turns around and calls this function. And so we skipped out on using the property. What if that property like didn't just turn around and call a different function? Could we still somehow do this? I would be curious to know how to do it in that case. Because I mean, honestly, I'm even kind of hesitant because I don't necessarily like using the private function setText. It feels more correct to me if this would be like this one. This feels like, to me, how it should be. But we got that error. Maybe that's a thing that CircuitPython can't do. Maybe CPython can, potentially. I don't think I'm gonna like write all the classes out to test it right now, but maybe that's a deal where like we can't use property setter things like that potentially on super. Maybe we have to call functions. In which case, I guess maybe would it work like this? Try it like this, actually. Because I would, if possible, I would love to use a public function or property rather than a private one that has an underscore at the beginning of it. No. It has no underscore text. But we may also be having that problem of the fact that we're 2 layers. I assume this is not the right solution too. Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll leave it with this. Does at least work. Label and bitmap label override set text. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, if it didn't have that, let's say if just those properties of the text setter existed and all the different behavior was inside of those, I wouldn't know how to do this, basically. Like, in this case, the only reason I know how to do it is because we also had this extra function here, which is just immediately getting called by the property setter. So we can kind of like skip the property setter and call it directly. But if that extra function didn't exist, if we only had the property setter, how could we do this, or could we still do this? This would have, I mean, like I was saying, like, this way feels like the way it should be, and then, you know, maybe it feels like this way ought to work, but neither of them actually do. But yeah, because we have the extra function there, we can call it, and that ends up working for us, but I just don't know. As part of the learning exercise, I'd be curious to know how we would do it if we didn't have that extra function. Fair enough. Make set text. That will work. It's almost like you can call parents functions, but you can't use parents properties. Maybe that's intentional. Well, I don't. That doesn't seem. It seems kind of like a weird restriction. So I don't. If it is intentional, it seems like a weird place to draw the line. I will say this is kind of weird to me as well. But it is working. Kind of a little bit morbidly curious. If we just had property here, would this not work? That actually still works fine. I'm inclined to do that, just because this is like way more what I'm used to seeing. Okay, I'm gonna make sure this one works. We should run pre-commit. Shouldn't change anything functional, but if it's going to change anything, we might as well have it changed before we actually test it. Okay, it passes. Doesn't quite get enough time to actually make it to the end of the first one, but that's all right. And then I do guess there's like the question of, do we want to keep full text or not? I think I'm inclined to keep it so that it's backwards compatible. Actually, I'm surprised that pre-commit passed because we don't have a doc string. Is that not what fails? Maybe it's the docs build that fails. Whoops. No, that succeeds too. Interesting. Usually that's an error, I thought. I guess if we wanted to lose... Is this meant? Loose punctuation? Not really loose, it's kind of serves a purpose. Just PyCharm doesn't know about this. Correct, how's it going? Oh, this is like English, yeah. No, this syntax here, my friend. Okay. I suppose we could change that to be private with an underscore, but we can't actually really do that because we also have that already. Bounding box, nice. Nice, looking good. Little heads up weather display there. Yeah, it gets tricky. Like, I can kind of see the case to be made that these should just not exist anymore. But then the next problem is that this is using it, so I guess we would just have to change that to be underscore and then cut all of this code and paste it into here. I think I'm going to submit it with these still existing and just working the way they always did. That way this is still backwards compatible too. If anybody feels strongly that it should instead break backwards compatibility and get rid of the now, extra superfluous full text, then you can leave a comment on the PR once I get it submitted. I could be open to the idea. Personally, I think I like the backwards compatibility more than I like the reduction in size or whatever that we would get by cutting those back out. Tiny bit, I guess, but something. But I think I like the backwards compatibility more than saving that extra tiny bit of space. But maybe there's other reasons that I'm not thinking of, or maybe somebody could convince me otherwise. Why would that have changed? That is weird. I don't understand why any of that changed. Did I press Control-Alt-L? I think I must have pressed Control-Alt-L, which is PyCharm's formatter. I could probably make that use black somehow, but I don't know how. Oops. Formatter. I don't know. Okay, we don't want to go to main either. '82. Just assigned small LED PCB that's equivalent to 400 LEDs per meter. Goodness, 400 LEDs per meter of like a straight line or grid or something. 400 per meter. Jeez. That's a straight line. You probably are pretty close to like not having enough room to fit more, I would think, right? Use how wide they are. I mean, I guess a meter is pretty long. Sounds like a lot though. Straight line. 20 sizes. Dang. Although I'm thinking neopixels, I guess, actually. Maybe you're using smaller, like tiny surface mount, which are definitely smaller than the neopixels I'm thinking of. It's still a lot though. 400 is a lot for sure. You're making smaller, you have one small chunk though in a board. It's about 50 more LEDs than the most dense strip, geez, in the flexible strip on the PCB. SMD on a PCB, nice. Might as well post on here as well. Oh man, really? Am I still here again? A hard PCB to mount inside the mailbox, so making custom PCB sticks. 20-watt speakers are 12 volts and neopixels. The neopixels I'm using don't have plastic sheath around them. I accidentally touched the 12-volt speaker. Ah. Probably not very happy with 12 volts. Yeah. One reason to get the neopixel scripts with the clear or the white sheathing. You stuff them inside of something that nothing touches, yeah. I've had stuff like that as well, where I'll like breadboard out a project or something, and it all works, and then I stuff it in a box and accidentally end up jumping some stuff that didn't mean to be. I've played that game as well. I will be back in a second. I'm gonna run to the restroom and then come back, and then thinking we're probably gonna jump into the core a bit next. I had a couple other PRs to look at, but I'm thinking changing gears to the core sounds kind of fun. Spent a bit more time on label, but we got one of the issues potentially knocked out and opened a new PR for it. So I will be back in a second, and then we'll get into that. Inner core. Gotta cut out of the earth going here. Okay. So I noticed this one go by in the chat earlier. Actually, let me check on something in one of these two. I have some open ones. I'm waiting for feedback and/or a point in the right direction. Okay. And I think this one is just still here waiting on a still, yeah. Where are we gonna find this again? I guess it would be maybe workflow. Yeah. CircuitPython to do to check free space on a device before installing a module. Support this for Webworkflow. I didn't know Circuit had any support for the Webworkflow, actually. Interesting. Oh, not yet, I guess. But perhaps in the works. Perhaps responding on port 80. There. Oops. Oh, we closed it now. Maybe it moved? It's all a bit over my head. This on the Funhouse, when I try to upload a file, it returns 409 as it should. Because the drive is mounted, but it still auto reloads, and after that the web workflow stops responding. Show also happens when creating a directory, but only if the directory is really created, not if it already existed, or if the drive is mounted. Be more careful. Okay. Okay, last week. So this got fixed, it looks like. Nice. Okay. Okay. Okay, cool. So it looks like we'll have Circuit support for Webworkflow coming too, which is kind of neat. When we started on. I don't have it anymore, it looks like. Oh no, here it is. Yeah, yeah. So the idea is basically make a new URL, make a new endpoint for the web workflow that will return the amount of free space and maybe potentially the amount of total space as well. It would return it as JSON. So far, it looks like the one proposed is cp/diskinfo.json. And or more specifically, just to be different than version.json. And Scott has helpfully pointed us to this. Which will theoretically somehow tell us the amount of space. So I will attempt to make a new endpoint, cp/diskinfo. I will attempt to figure out how to use this function to populate the JSON that's going to be inside diskinfo. It's interesting to me. I was not. This is like to a different thing, I guess. Elm-chan, what is get free? Press W. Maybe is this a thing we use for managing the storage drive? I don't actually know how any of that stuff works. That's all still a black box to me. So I think this is within my means. Or maybe like just barely outside of my means to where I can learn enough to make it actually happen, hopefully. So I figured it'd be a good one to try to grab. If I can do. I think this is not going to let me update because I have changes now. It's not going to let me do that until it's done. I do wish this would go faster. For some reason, updating the core repo seems to take a very long time inside of here. I don't know if it's any faster. Maybe I should try command line? Steam API. I am going to check out Steam API, but I can't do it super quickly because I don't have the key yet. I need to get my account set up and do a key. I saw that, and I am interested in that, although I am a bit scared of the number that comes out. But I did see that, and that is on the docket, as they say. But I got to get my API sorted out, API token, and I'm interested in diving into the core, I think. So we don't, yeah, uncommitted. That this, I somehow always get into this situation where, well, no, okay, this time I actually caused this part of it. Oops. I changed that, but I show these two changes that are stopping me from pulling, but I didn't make these two changes. So I don't understand A, how they got made in my local version of the repo, and B, why they would prevent me from pulling. I want to just pull whatever is the latest one, disregarding anything that was on my local disk. Like, if this is different, that's fine. Just accept the new one, whatever it is. If it's one of these two, then accept it. If it's a third one that's different than both of these, then accept the new one. Like, I want whatever is current. But for some reason, I get this. So is that a, like, git pull hard or something? So what I can do, try to resolve this when it comes up, is I can go here. I can go, like, roll back. Try to undo these changes that I don't know the source of. And then I can pull. I presume those were like git commit hashes or whatever, so I presume this is a submodules related thing. Let me catch up on the chat too. There's a fix for the workflow, Webworkflow to Circuit can be better tested and looked at. Haven't had made time for it, but maybe this week. Gotcha. Might be able to use Workflow now that I think I figured out my internet disconnecting issues. Wi-Fi is dropping about 20 times a day. Dang. A little bit, like almost once an hour. Look at version JSON, should be easy. Yep, that's what I'm going to do, in fact, is basically copy version JSON and change out the stuff it's populating from. Router kept restarting due to someone hitting the crap out of it, trying to brute force their way in. Accidentally set up a public-facing port. Ah, gotcha. As to the Stream API, it'd be nice to add comments explaining how to get the Steam ID and API key. I'm down for that, yeah. I have not looked into it yet, but Google Steam API, I mean, it sounded like from the notes in the meeting that they make it fairly easy, so like profile page, developer options or something like that. But yeah, I'm totally pro a note or two, you know, a couple of words about how to do it. URL could change. I don't know. I can see both sides of the argument, or like link rot is a thing that can happen, but I think it's worth it still, because it's like not going to happen for a while, hopefully, and it's pretty useful in the meantime. And even once link rot does occur and that takes you to like a broken page or whatever, sometimes some parts of the URL could still be useful for you to try to find the modern version of the page, or at least like have something else to plug into Google to get further along. So now, and I still cannot do it. Uncommitted changes, but now I don't have any uncommitted changes. So I need to learn how to fix this, because like this happens occasionally, and the way that I have been fixing it is not exactly the most sustainable thing in the world, let's say. And actually open anything up. We don't want this open, I guess, right? The way I have been solving this is cloning a new CircuitPython. So I'm in another CircuitPython again, but I also have like CircuitPython again, or CircuitPython another, CircuitPython Adafruit. I already have a few of these. I think I would rather not make another one right now. It's gonna depend on how much trouble we have trying to fix it though. Git pull hard. Is that even a thing? Git fetch all. That's it, dash dash all. Done. I don't even want to do that. Git reset hard. Maybe I could delete. Maybe I could delete that branch. Get reset hard, and then we're not using origin master. We're gonna say Adafruit main. Is that? Okay. Seems promising. GitHub branch protection rules. Oh, it does still say this. And now these changes are back. We're gonna do that. Okay, we made it this far. I don't really need to pull as long as that reset head thing actually worked. As long as this is actually doing what it's saying, then I don't actually need to pull, I don't think. So it does still show these are like uncommitted changes, which I'm still confused about. JSON parsing what? Oh, let me catch up here. I like to see code used with request get as response, but most examples don't. Developer API docs. That is true, yeah. I wish it were not, but I wish I could say that's not true. It definitely is. I like the way you shorten the JSON parsing. Honestly, better way to go. Update the API calls. About changing the JSON parsing methods too. Bit disconcerting is a good understated tagline for Git. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, yeah, I don't know. We don't, but and so now I can like, so the next thing is when I go to push, I will just undo this, and my local copy will keep these changes, but we won't push them, and I'll keep doing that for a while until till there's so many of them that it bothers me, and I delete the branch or figure out how to start over, or what I've done the last few times is just clone it again. One of these days, though, I'm going to figure out a complete work process that will actually get me out of having that problem without cloning new. It's not that day, but we did get one step farther, and we can do the parts of the things that we need to be able to do for what we're working on. So leave the rest for later. One thing that is kind of a bummer, though, is like this doesn't have my scopes. Doesn't have my scopes. But I really would like it to. One of the downsides of cloning new ones all the time. Copy configuration. That just made a new copy of this one. That's that. As let's just this one it even knows is like a pointer somehow or whatever. I mean, the thing in PyCharm too, I think. I've never used it in PyCharm. Is it? Maybe it's not actually. Pull in there. Oh, that's the wrong one. Copy paste scopes? Backup restore? Problem is, oh, interesting. I didn't know you could put fancy like wildcards and stuff in there. Not really. I mean, I guess there's a configuration file somewhere. I don't necessarily really want to just be digging around to find the file. If it works, I guess, though, right? Feels like a lot of time to dedicate to. I'm not even actually going to be using really its workspace. Copy that. Oh, I should have looked at where that was at a little bit more closely. Oh. Oh. Maybe we should take the whole component actually, right? Down settings migration. Project application version. Copy the whole component. Let's just keep this open actually too. Have new CircuitPython again. That's not even the one I'm using right now, I don't think. Another CircuitPython again. Markdown settings migration. It feels like it shouldn't be plan A, right, though? Feels like there should be, like, backup restore? Or some kind of way you can do it without needing to do that? Seemed to have worked, though, so take it. At one point I even had a Webworkflow one. I have no idea where that's gone to though. It's probably on my other computer or somewhere. Should I make a new Webworkflow one? I'm just gonna use the full one for now. I don't actually remember 100%. There it is, okay. So I don't remember 100% where this is at. This is the right place. We're gonna need a few things. We're gonna need to make a new branch in this if statement here to handle diskinfo.json, but that's just gonna be calling a function. This one is reply with version. We basically are gonna need another new function that says reply with diskinfo. It will need to build a response kind of like this with the storage space. Probably there's some more things we will need too. But those are the first ones that I'm certain of. What is MDNS? Coded IP. Interesting. I'm actually gonna leave all this stuff here for now. Yeah, I'm gonna leave all of it here for now. We're just gonna duplicate this function entirely. Just before I change anything, let's try to get this part of it to work. That way, like, if it doesn't work, I can be having less stuff that I've already changed to try to figure out what to do to fix it. Okay. Let's look for like this anywhere else. Only one. Okay, maybe that's all we need. Trusty feather TFT, but I gotta actually get mine. Is for once actually not right here on my desk. Export the this thing. So. All right, BRB. So it would be shorthand get request response line technically, not JSON. The oh, the with statement. I think the context manager code that you posted above, then I guess not the JSON, ends up being much slimmer way, better than the default. Sometimes I don't know. Context managers. When it's when it is one request or one thing, because I have this problem with the file when they're used with files as well. Context managers, though, they force extra indentions, because like when you make one request, you can do it nice and easily with the with, just like Nerodoc, I think it was, that posted up here a little bit ago. But let's say you want to make two requests, then you just have to have like with another thing, right? Which means you make another indentation. So if you want to have 4 requests or whatever, then you have 4 indentions. I don't really care for that so much. I like being able to not have, like, if I scale up my program to do more things, I don't want to force more indentation blocks. Maybe there's a way to do it that I'm not aware of. Can you just chain them with commas? Thinking back on it right now, that feels very Pythonic. Maybe you can just chain them with commas. Or like, what if you want to do 2 things? Like, what if I want to make a request to the internet and open a file and read it or do something with it? You could do them in sequence, not nested. Potentially, yeah, I suppose. If you like saved the data into some variable so that you could use it in the other one. That's true. That's true, I guess. Yeah. My use case with really where this preference of mine came from more so is the files, I will say, more so than the requests. And the problem with files, what makes it actually a bit different, there was like a brief period of time where we had the kind of go-to code for on-disk bitmap use the with context manager. And the thing was, if you wanted to do 2 on-disk bitmaps or 3 or 4 or whatever, and you wanted to use that context manager, you have to indent them. You can't do them sequentially like you said, because you can't keep showing it after you close the file. So all of the files have to remain open, which means you had to indent. Or like, make another with context. Requests are not really the same way, I guess, because you can just save the results, save the text or the JSON or whatever you want into a variable. And then afterwards, you can sequentially do another with context, get your other thing, make use of all the information still. And there's not that piece that needs that thing to remain open in this case, really, because you can just get the data and save it. In the end, we changed on-disk bitmap to just take a string anyway, and so it doesn't actually matter anymore in that use case, I will say too. It takes a string and it opens the file itself. Basically it manages it internally rather than the user code having to like open the file and mess with it. Sounds like an issue. Oh. Okay, fingers crossed. The last time that I did actually stream, I had some trouble where my computer was crashing while I was making builds, so I tried to like update some stuff, see if we could fix that, but I don't really have a way of knowing if I fixed it other than just like it doesn't happen again, and it always could happen again, so I can't really say that it's ever actually for sure fixed. So fingers crossed, if I disappear, then probably my computer locked up or something. Whew, scared me there. I don't know if I'm still here, but it definitely like hung for a good second. Even the music, which is playing, was silent for long enough to make me think that it definitely froze. Never actually parsed local JSON. Even with local JSON file, it would not matter. You could still use the with contexts and not have the drawback I was talking about, as long as you do it like Neradoc said, where they're sequentially rather than nested. Because in the same way, as you could do with the request, you can open the file, read the content, store it into a variable, and then leave your with context manager, and you still have your variable with your data. The crux with the on-disk bitmaps was that you couldn't close the file. Like, once you close the file, it could no longer display on the display anymore. So the file had to remain open, otherwise it wouldn't actually show. Maybe it caused an error. I don't remember if it raised an exception or if it just didn't show, but the file had to remain open. Logging is a more CSV. Yeah, that's a good point. JSON doesn't have like ending. You could open it and like append to a list, but CSV you could just append at the bottom of the file without caring about what's in it.